So, in recognition of the sacrifice, wonderful sacrifice our heroes and heroines made, and also, to let the world know what we are going through, the castration, killings of innocent Biafrans, of innocent people, women, children. People are dying back there, and nobody cares. Nobody, UN, what are you doing? The whole Biafra is locked down today. Locked down. We are celebrating our heroes, our heroines, who lived their life so that we can live to see today. We are celebrating the memorial service of our heroes, of Biafra heroes. Today we have set aside to remember our brothers and sisters who paid the ultimate price for the freedom of Biafra.
I am here today because of our fallen heroes. The people that died when Nigeria and Biafra fought. They paid the ultimate price to redeem our life. And today we are here to celebrate them, to honor them.
Special representative of the indigenous people of Biafra, an editorial board member of Radio Biafra, and I'm here today to all hail Biafra.
And our hopes now we're doing it after this year, we are going home to our promised land, Biafra land.
I'm in support of what is going on today. I'm in support of the creation of Biafra. I am happy for what I have seen our people do in Britain and all over the world, where everyone today have respected the dead.
And this very day we're here remembering Biafrans who died 67 to 70 and even up to recent time that our people are dying.
Genocide, for example, on the question of 1960.
Remember our fallen heroes and heroines that died between 1967 to 1970.
We're here to celebrate the 50th anniversary of the Biafran independent declaration, and it was quite a lot of Biafrans that turned up here, and I'm quite impressed. And it's all peaceful, very peaceful so far. Why I'm here is to join in the commemoration of our heroes.
Well, you argue in that lecture that Nigeria's leaders have missed the opportunities to define what it means to be Nigerian. Yes. You say that talks of unity, progress, peace and freedom are not sufficient. Yes. However, when it comes to solution, what you seem to be proposing is another national conference of sorts.
I think we've gone beyond national conference. We are now the world's biggest conferencing country in the world. I mean, I'm sure we've had too many conferences. I want to read to you
what you propose so that our viewers can follow. You say that all our former heads of state, their deputies, former Senate presidents, their deputies, former speakers of the House of Reps, their deputies, former heads of service and secretaries to governments of the Federation, heads of all ethnic associations, heads of all professional bodies, retired service chiefs and inspectors general should meet and draft a new charter for Nigeria. Isn't that another national conference?
That's the point. I'm saying that we have passed the stage of, because when you call it a national conference, you're thinking about nominating people, bringing people. But I went further to say that what they draft, which is so that we don't lose the experience of those before us, let them tell us, why do we have to be a nation? What is the purpose of Nigeria? What does somebody get from being a Nigerian? I know what it means to be an American. I know it means I have certain inalienable rights, amongst which is life, liberty, and the right and the pursuit of happiness. I know what it means to be French. It means liberty. It means fraternité. It means égalité. I know what it means to be British. It means that the fundamental rights that we enjoy today in the world is assured by everybody. And that's why I'm saying, what does it mean to be a Nigerian? It has to mean something, because we are not bound by blood. That is why our first national anthem said, though tribes and tongues may differ, in brotherhood we stand. We need to define that brotherhood, the rules of that engagement. And I thought that if people who have lived in Nigeria, and I mentioned General Gowon, who said the task to keep Nigeria one must be met. We must keep to that task. And I said, okay, we've kept it one. For what purpose? In the MPN days, we talked about one nation, one destiny. Okay, which nation, which destiny are we talking about?
What you seem to suggest is that the current dispensation as we have it cannot deliver the ideals that we seek.
Yes, it cannot. It cannot, because right from the time I was Marshal, I went to deliver a lecture at the University of Ibadan, and I titled it Distorted Incentives. I said, so long as incentives are distorted, you can't get people to do the right things. Every human being reacts to incentives. We have to create incentive for production. The incentive we have today is for distribution. The incentive of going to Abuja every week to distribute money cannot make it possible for any state to start thinking about how to create wealth. So I think that fundamentally, we need to draw up a new charter. Since our country has made it possible for us to have resources to distribute, what does the Nigerian benefit from being a Nigerian? How is he assured of that 9 years of education? All those things that were said in Chapter 2 of our Constitution, the directive principles and fundamental objectives and directive principles, why will it not be justiciable? Why will it not be that the purpose of my being Nigerian is that certain rights are assured?
You don't think that the National Assembly can have this conversation?
So I said, once you have this charter, let's pass it to the National Assembly. Let the National Assembly propose a bill for amendment of our Constitution to make it possible for us to replace that Chapter 2 with a justiciable part that is irreducible minimum for Nigerians. To know that we are building a nation where no man is oppressed.
And you think that the past national conferences we've had has not addressed that question?
No, they have addressed multiple issues, and I think we can draw from all that experience. But we need to put in practical terms, what does it mean to be a Nigerian? We need to look to the world and say to them, if you are a Nigerian, you are assured of these certain minimums. If you are a Nigerian and you decide to take over Nigerian citizenship today, this is what is assured of you to be a Nigerian. And I think that it is critical that we go ahead to define it, because the reason is that the world is changing. We're living in the world where populism, where separation, where homogeneous entities are arising. But we also saw the French in the last election saying, no, we can't, we are French. We know what it means to be French. Even if you are Arab, even if you are Muslim and you come to France and you are ready to live in accordance with the French principles of life, we will live with you. We saw the French reaffirm their humanity. And I believe Nigerians will reaffirm that once we see that the idea of federal character is supposed to be a shield, not a sword. It is intended to allow the areas that are not developed to meet up. It's not supposed to stop those who are moving forward. We're turning the federal character into a sword. It's not intended so. The whole idea is to let the others come up.
I find it interesting that you make reference to the lack of unanimity in talking about restructuring.
Yes.
If you were to consider that that's perhaps the way to go, now, what would you recommend that it consists of, that restructuring as a term?
I've always been very skeptical about the idea that once you affect the structure, then things begin to change. Because in the 1960s, the regional governments that we romanticize, that we talk about in the 60s, Nigeria was great. Don't forget that by 1963 or so, we had created the Midwestern region, that the Cross River, Ogoja Rivers agitation, the thief riots have started in the north. There were a lot of protests for minority rights. There were even tensions in the regional government. So at the end of the day, it goes down again to the philosophy of the polity, to governance model. I believe very firmly that if our leadership is able to deliver governance to the people, is able to subscribe to a minimum level of behavior, is able to subscribe to a charter that brings back everybody to the table. Now, the structure will be secondary. It will be more of a mechanical thing. But I think that laying too much emphasis on the structure will not solve the fundamental problem.